All right, good morning. Today, if you're here live, is Easter Monday. Most of you will not be doing this class live, but it is Easter Monday here, and we're near the beginning of a session. This is our second class, and Easter is about new beginning. And I thought that today we would start right at the beginning of the Yoga Sutras with the very first word of the Yoga Sutras, which is Atha, A-T-H-A. And sometimes this word is translated as now, as in now. Atha Yoga Nushasanam means now we begin the study of yoga, something like that. But embedded in this word Atha is the idea of a vow or a commitment. And whenever we're starting something new, usually at the beginning there's some excitement that gets us going, gets us moving on the path. And at some point that excitement tends to wear off, and what rises up to fill that gap is the commitment that we've made to something. So for instance, on the 6th week of a 12-week yoga session, you might be thinking, I don't feel like getting up and going today, especially if you're going to the studio, not doing it online. And then the enthusiasm may be gone for the reasons why you started, but when you dig a little deeper and you find the commitment to yourself, then you find the way off the couch and out the door and to whatever it is, whether it's a yoga class or some other thing that you've committed to. And the idea is that our commitment is what keeps us going. Starting something new can be difficult as well. So I heard something recently, and I wish I could remember where it came from, because I've been practicing paying attention to this, and I find it so true. So you can see my couch here in the background. It's a very comfortable couch. You can't quite see the corner there, but there's a nice cozy corner in the couch, and it has couch suck. Right, you get sucked right into the couch. And what I heard was you have 5 seconds between the time that you think, oh, I should get up and do the dishes, or I should get up and walk the dog, or whatever it is that you think. You have 5 seconds to actually get up and do that thing before your mind kicks in and says, it's more comfortable here, and talks you out of it. And so I've been practicing in that time of 5 seconds between when I think I should do something and that time elapses, I actually try to get my butt out of the corner of the couch and get that thing done. And that's my commitment to getting things done in a more timely manner. But whatever it is that allows you to make and honor and keep your commitments, whether it's to a series of yoga classes or whether it's to something else in your life that's important to you. So today we're going to focus on that idea of commitment or vow. Our practice today, a really general practice. We're going to warm up all the joints with some movement, stretch, and do a little strengthening for the major muscles of the body. And as always, I urge you to listen to your body and go at a pace that feels comfortable to you. You can always shut the video off if you're watching later. If you're live, you can always just take a break and even rejoin the class later on video if it isn't working for you in the moment. So I will see you on the mat. And we'll start lying down so you can get comfortable. So I'm sitting, but you are welcome to lie down on your mat in whatever position is comfortable for you. We'll do a little bit of centering to begin with and then move into the practice from there. So as you make yourself comfortable, letting your body soften and receive the support of the ground beneath you. Make any little adjustments that you need to be as comfortable as you can for the next couple of minutes. And then if it interests you, you might tune into your breath. If you prefer a more external focus, listening to the sounds in your space can be helpful. And it really doesn't matter what you focus on as long as it's in the present. So you could even focus on your thoughts The danger there is that they tend to carry you away. So focusing on the breath or sounds or anything else that's in the present moment. You could even pay attention to your body and whatever sensations are present for you this morning. It's often helpful when we're practicing yoga to have something for the mind to come back to when it strays, something positive and something that feels good to you as a focus. And I'll make a suggestion this morning that you can follow, or you can choose something else if you prefer. But if it interests you, you might bring into your mind something you want to commit to. Maybe it's doing a home practice of yoga. Maybe it's some other goal that you have in your life. Maybe it's a commitment to bring more kindness to yourself. Really any kind of goal. Anything that you'd like to increase in your life through a commitment. So if something comes to you, you might hold that as an intention in your mind as you practice today. Letting the effort of your practice be dedicated to some commitment that's important to you. Some action that you'd like to take in your life. What would you like to commit to? And if nothing comes to you, please don't feel any need to force something into your mind. Let it arise, and if it doesn't, let it go. If something comes to you later, you can hold that. Let's take a few deeper breaths now, inviting a bit more energy into the body, breathing in fully with your inhale, but never straining. And then exhaling completely. A couple more breaths like that. And then if you're lying down and your legs are straight, you might want to bend your knees, bringing the lower back a little bit closer to the ground, perhaps. You're welcome to use a blanket to support your head if you haven't already, if you find that helpful. And then from this position, we'll take the arms and stretch them up toward the ceiling. And from here, reaching the arms up towards the ceiling, and then letting the shoulders drop down toward the ground. Reaching up. You can breathe in as you reach up if you like. And then exhale as you let the arms sink, shoulders to the ground. A couple more times like that. And then as the shoulders relax on the ground again, stay there, and you could circle your wrists around here. Feel free to experiment with going one direction then the other, and you can do this with open hands, or you can make fists for a little different stretch. And then relax your hands and give the arms a shake. And we'll interlace the fingers now and press the palms up toward the ceiling, giving the hands, the palms a little stretch, the thumbs reaching out Fingers back, palms reaching up. And then we'll release the hands and open the arms wide to the ground. And pause here for a moment, extending out through your fingertips. Maybe experiencing some sensation in the arms. And then take a big breath in as you exhale, cross one arm over your chest, bringing the hands to your opposite shoulders, one arm over the other. And give yourself a little squeeze here. If you find this helpful, you might imagine or feel the breath in the back of your body between the shoulder blades, if that's available to you. And before you release the arms, check which arm is on top. We'll do the opposite arm next time. So you're reaching out to the sides. Take a couple of breaths here. You can spread the fingers wide and reach from the center of your heart out through the fingertips. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, crossing the arms across the chest the other way, the other arm on top, and we'll pause here for a few breaths. And then again, spread the arms wide on the ground. And if this feels like a nice stretch for your shoulders and arms, you can stay here. If you want a little bit more, you might slide the arms a little higher up into more of a Y shape, or perhaps bend the elbows into the goalpost position. You want to make sure that the back of your hands and the elbows are comfortably on the ground. So for some, that means the arms are shoulder height or lower, and you may still feel a stretch there, and for some, the arms are a little higher. Take a few breaths here and feel how the breath moves you. If you're uncomfortable in any way, adjust your position. You want to make sure that your neck, face, jaw can stay relaxed here. And if you like, you can move your head a little bit from side to side, moving slowly one direction and then the other direction. Tuning into if that changes anything in the sensation in your shoulders and arms as you move your head, how your neck feels. What's present for you this morning? And come back to the center. Let's slide the arms down to the sides now. Let the shoulders relax there for a moment. The palms can face up or down, whatever you find more comfortable. And if you've made a commitment to something, or at least considering that, you might bring that into your mind now. Not so that you can use this time to plan what's going to happen next, but to really tune into the idea of committing. Well, let's take the arms and stretch them straight up overhead. The hands might come to the floor, or they may not, depending on what your shoulders have to say today. And then bring the arms back down to your sides. So inhaling, if you're coordinating the breath as you reach up, exhaling as you come down. Next time you're halfway through that pattern, so your arms are facing the ceiling, or if you're outside, if it's warm where you are, the sky, and then we'll bend the elbows to bring the hands to meet the opposite elbow. So you've got a little shape of a square over your chest. And then we'll roll the head and the elbows to one side, back to center, and over to the other side. And you can repeat that a few more times. And if it interests you, you might tune into what you notice now in your shoulders and your neck, your upper back. Right, and then come back to the center. We'll stretch the arms back up toward the ceiling. Reach the arms overhead for one more stretch here. You can breathe in if you like. And then as you exhale, bring your right knee into your chest. Give that knee a little hug. So you're either holding over the knee, or you can reach behind the knee if that's more comfortable. And that's a good option if you find that fully flexing your knee creates discomfort. And take a couple of breaths here. Feel the deep fold at the front of the hip, maybe some stretch in the back of the hip. And then from here, stretching the leg toward the ceiling and releasing the leg in toward the chest. You can give a little squeeze in as you bring the knee in. Maybe straighten the arms as you stretch the leg. The leg does not have to be straight. And in fact, you don't even need to hold the leg at this point. If you find that, you're really reaching and creating a strain in the neck or shoulders, then just let the hands rest on the body or on the ground as you bend and straighten the leg. Any option here that works for you. You could stay for a few breaths, maybe flexing and pointing the foot. Again, it's quite fine to do this without holding the leg if you're especially feeling any strain in holding on. You can also try circling your ankle around. Try circling both directions. And then we'll relax the foot, give that leg a shake. And then draw the knee back in towards your chest. Again, holding above or below, above the shin or below, behind the thigh. And then if it's comfortable for you, you might stretch the left leg straight out on the ground. And then here we'll do a little bit of movement into that right hip joint. So you could keep both hands on the knee as you do smaller movements, circling or side to side, forward and back, whatever movement gets into where you feel tight. If you want a bigger circle, you can take the knee into the right hand and maybe switch it to the left hand and do some movement on either side. Or if you want even more movement, you can let the hand come away from the knee and make those circles or movements as big as feels good to you. If it would feel good to you and you want a little bit of a twist, you can bring the leg across the body, rolling onto your left hip for a moment. And then coming back onto your back and maybe taking the knee out to the side for a moment. We'll take a little bit more time here, working in whatever way feels good for that right hip. And then eventually we're going to make our way back to the center. You can bring your right foot to the ground, bend your left knee so that you can lift the hips and bring your spine and hips back into the center. And then maybe stretch both legs out for a moment if that's comfortable for you. Otherwise, keep them bent. The hands can rest wherever they're comfortable. I invite you now to notice how your right hip, knee, and ankle feel, the 3 joints of the right leg that we've been working with, and maybe compare that to how the left side feels. And this can be quite subtle, so you may not feel any difference at all, or you may feel a lot of difference, and it's not about right or wrong, but tuning in and noticing. And when you're ready, bending both knees again, bringing the feet to the floor. Start with the hands at your sides. Make any adjustments you need to feel comfortable here. And then we'll take the arms overhead, breathing in. And as you exhale, your left knee now could come into your chest. And again, choosing where to hold on to the leg so that it's the most comfortable you can be here. For you, having the knee close to the body may not be as comfortable as having the thigh a little bit further away. And then if and when you feel ready to bring a little more stretch to the back of the leg, a little more contraction or strength to the front of the leg, plus working the knee joint a little bit more as well as the hip, bending and straightening. You might leave the leg in the air and point and flex a few times. Holding the leg is optional. You can try circling the ankle as well. Both directions. And then again, relax your foot, give the leg a shake. And then draw the knee back in toward the chest. And the option to straighten the right leg if you find that comfortable. If not, you can do the hip movement with the knee bent. It's fine. So whatever works for you. And then we'll start with some circles or whatever movement would feel good into that left hip. If you move slowly, you have a better opportunity to feel what's going on in the hip. If there's not a lot of sensation, know that that's also quite normal, or there may be a lot of sensation. Feel free to explore moving from one side to the other, maybe adding a bit of twist if you like, either just taking the knee across the center line, or you could roll right onto that hip and bring the knee toward the floor on the other side. And then eventually returning to the center, and we'll place the left foot on the floor, bend the right knee, and again, shift your hips and spine until you feel like you're back in an even place, that the spine and hips line up with one another. And then from there, we'll take the arms overhead and breathe in. As you exhale now, engage your core, draw the lower back toward the ground, and bring both knees up into the chest. We'll draw the knees in close to the body, and then straighten the arms to move the knees a little further away. So your action is in with an exhale, out with an inhale. You can also move and breathe at a comfortable pace for you without coordinating. You might add a little circular movement one way and the other. Right, and then back to center. So we've gone through the major joints, the wrist, elbows, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles. We'll work a little bit more with the spine over the next couple of movements, and starting with bridge pose. So with bridge pose, if you've got something quite thick underneath your head, you might want to remove it. You know, even if it's just a thin blanket like I had there, I find it more comfortable for my neck to have my head on the ground. Now, others find a little bit of support is helpful there. So you're going to check in with your neck as you come into bridge pose, and if it feels hyperflex, so if it's already up here and you lift the hips and the neck gets hyperflex, then you might want to just remove whatever's behind your head if you haven't already. So check in with your neck as you do bridge. We're going to lift the arms as we lift the hips. You want the ankles more or less underneath the knees or slightly further away if that's more comfortable for your knees. And then from there, let's take a breath in. As you exhale, press down into your feet, preparing for bridge, and then inhale, you can lift the arms straight up overhead toward the floor as you lift the hips. Lifting the arms is optional, and if you've lifted them, you'll lower them as the hips come down. It doesn't matter how high you lift. Think more about length from the fingertips to the knees, and then softening down again. A couple more. And then as you come down this time, stay there. You can slide the arms out to the sides. You might take the feet slightly away from the hips, and then the knees and ankles could be together or slightly apart here for the twist. So whatever feels best for you. Knees together tends to twist the whole spine more. The hips stay in line, and having the knees and ankles apart tends to be more movement in the hips and less twist for the spine. So you can play around with how much movement you're receiving in the hips versus feet together and getting more of a twist in the spine. So play around, see what feels good for you, what your body is looking for this morning. Your arms can rest on your body as mine were, out to the sides. As the knees go one way, if you like, you can take the head the opposite way. It's a little trickier for me with the headset on, but you're welcome to do that if it feels good for you. And we'll just do one more to either side. When you come back to the center now, we'll make whatever adjustments you need to feel your spine and your hips even, and then knees in toward the chest. And we'll stretch both legs towards the ceiling this time. The hands could stay on the legs, come behind the legs, out to the sides or overhead. So lots of options depending on, do your legs need more support? Do your shoulders want a bigger movement? And what feels best for you in this moment. So knees to chest, hands to knees, and you can exhale as you draw the legs in, and then inhale and extend to whatever position you've chosen. Continue. A couple more rounds at your own rhythm. And as your knees come back to your chest this time, pause there. As you hold both knees, you can either have your hands on your knees for a little bit less of a fold, or perhaps clasp the hands over the shins. It could even be knees a little bit apart, holding each knee separately. Take a few breaths here, tune in and notice what's present for you right now. And then as you're ready, you can let your feet come to the floor. Maybe we'll take this moment to practice the 5-second rule. So let's roll to the side and come to sit. And we want to do that within a few seconds before we lose our momentum. Mind you, with a guided practice, it's often easier, but I find sometimes in my own practice, I could just lie down for a while after doing a few lying poses and forget about the more upright, strenuous parts of the practice. So I give myself 5 seconds to make that transition. Some days there may be reason to lie longer, but having that guide of motivation can be helpful. So we're coming to a seated position. If you want to sit on a bolster or a block or a blanket, cushion, whatever is comfortable for you. We'll work a little bit with the neck and the shoulders a bit more in this upright position. Excuse me. So let's take the head and turn it to one side. And then we'll sweep the chin down across the front of the chest to come up to the other side. And we can sweep back and forth a few times. Try to let the shoulders be relaxed. And then as the chin comes down to the chest this time, pause there. Take a couple of breaths. And then slowly bring the head back to center. And we'll take one ear and release it down towards the shoulder. And then take the opposite arm. If you want a bit more stretch, you can bring your fingertips to the floor if you can reach the floor. Maybe onto a block if you're sitting up higher or you're on a chair. The other option here for a little more stretch is to take the hand and turn the palm back and bring the hand behind your back as you let your head rest to one side. So whichever version you like. We won't stay too long. Slowly bring the head back to center and release that arm if you've moved it. And take the head down to the other side. And it's not about pushing or pulling, but really letting gravity create a bit of stretch in the side of your neck. Again, you could take the fingertips to the ground, walking the hand away a little bit if you want a bit more stretch, or palm facing out, hand behind your back if that is a good position for your shoulder and neck. We'll take a couple more breaths. And then slowly bring your head back to center, release the arm. We'll do a little seated cat-cow movement. So inhaling, a little arch in the back, exhaling, rounding and drawing the chin toward the chest. Repeating that movement a few times. And then returning to a neutral position for the spine. And there's some really important muscles that we often ignore, and those are the muscles of the eyes. And the eye muscles, just like any other muscles in the body, they need to be stretched and strengthened and worked with in order to keep the eyes healthy. And this can have an impact on your ability to see well. And I know some people who have been able to avoid reading glasses. That's not my fate at this point, but maybe one day I will do enough eye exercises to correct that vision issue. So we'll now I want to say this too, is that part of the reason I don't do as many eye exercises as I could or should is not a lack of motivation, but I find that I feel quite nauseous when I do the eye exercises. And I've been asking students and others, very few, but there are a few others who say the same thing. So if that's the case for you, you might stop at any point if you feel a little bit nauseous or dizzy. Rub your hands together. And actually, we can do this right now to warm up the eyes. So rub the hands together, create some heat, and then rest the palms over your eyes. So it's no pressure on your eyelids. The heel of your hand is on the cheekbones, and the bases of your fingers come to the eyebrows. So take a moment, let your eyes relax in that warm, dark space. And again, you can repeat that movement anytime. And then when you're ready, release the hands. So if you start to feel a bit dizzy or uncomfortable, just cover your eyes for a moment. We'll imagine a clock face in front. And if you look up to 12 o'clock, try not to lift your chin. So it's just your eyes lifting, and as if 12 o'clock were way up on the ceiling. And then look all the way down to 6 o'clock, as if 6 o'clock were all the way down on the floor. And then you're going to look to the right to 3 o'clock, and you'll look all the way to the right as far as you can, almost like you're trying to look behind you. And then shift your eyes all the way to the left to 9 o'clock. And again, as if you're trying to see the space behind your head. And then bring your eyes back to the center. And we'll go back up to 12 o'clock. And we're going to go around the clock slowly. So starting at 12, and then take your eyes a little to the right to 1 o'clock. and then 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, down to 4, 5, and all the way down to 6. And then we'll move slightly to the left to 7 o'clock and start moving up towards 8, and then 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and back up to 12 o'clock. We'll take that circle in the opposite direction now, going counterclockwise. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Taking the eyes to 12 o'clock, and then 11, down to 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way down to 6, 5, 4, all the way over to 3, to 2, to 1, and back up to midnight or noon, and then back to the center. There's lots of different patterns you can do. You can, cross from 11 to 5, 10 to 4, and kind of go across the clock. We're going to leave it there, but if you're interested in those eye exercises, you can repeat them every day and be curious to know the results. So let's take the palms and rub the hands together again. And after those few eye exercises, giving the eyes another moment to relax in the warmth and the dark behind your hands. And then when you're ready, you can release the hands and we'll come around onto all fours. So a little more movement for the spine, cat-cow, inhaling as you extend the spine, exhaling as you flex the spine. You also have the option, if you prefer, moving from the extended position to child's pose. If you're feeling a little more energetic today and you want to come to downward dog, you can come into downward dog. Maybe the first time keeping the knees bent, extending the spine, maybe every time keeping the knees bent, depending on how you respond to this pose. It's a really lovely variation when you keep the knees soft and the spine long. So feel free to move forward and back, all fours to child's pose, maybe downward dog as you're ready, if you're ready. It's optional. We're going to make our way to warrior pose. So you can do that by bringing your left foot forward either from all fours or from downward dog. So either way, we're going to end up with the left foot coming between the hands, and then your right foot turns out to the right. And if you want to make this a little bit easier, step your right foot forward a little, and then we'll come up into warrior one. If you want to make the pose more challenging, keep the stance a little wider. So coming up to warrior one, we'll add a forward bend. So you can bring the hands to the front knee if you like, the shin. If you've got blocks and you want to use them, you could bring your hands to your blocks, or if it's accessible to you, right to the ground. We'll lift back up with a breath in. So back bending in warrior one, the more your feet are apart, the greater that back bend becomes. Not greater as in better, it's bigger. And the more you straighten your front leg as you go forward, the greater the stretch in the back of that leg. Next time you come to the forward position, whether it's hands to the knee or the blocks to the ground, stay there for a couple of breaths. And to switch sides, we're going to step forward. So you can step forward from wherever you are. And then we'll come all the way up, reaching the arms overhead and exhaling, arms back down to your sides. So we'll do the other side. Taking a breath in, coming up. Exhale, come forward again. It could be hands to knees or to the ground or to the blocks, wherever is accessible to you. And we'll step back with the left foot. So roughly about the same distance as you did on the other side. So it could be a greater step back or a smaller step back, as is right for you today. And then from there, with a nice long spine, lifting up into Warrior One, into the back bend. So the wider your stance, the bigger the back bend. Exhaling, the more you straighten the front leg, the more stretch you'll receive in the forward bend. So any version that suits you, hands to knee coming forward or shin. You want to make sure you're not hyperextending the knee by pressing back with your hands. Hands to the blocks or the ground, whatever works. Next time you come forward, stay there for a few breaths. Again, it could be hands to knee, blocks, or the ground. If your hands are on your knee, again, you're not pushing back and hyperextending that leg. You want to keep a slight bend. And then again, wherever your hands are, we can step forward to a standing forward bend. Maybe let the head release, the knees bend, spine long and relaxed. And then we'll come all the way up, breathing in. And exhaling to release. So here we are, standing. Coming to Tadasana pose, the feet about hip distance apart. You might bend and straighten the knees a few times, just making sure that we're not bringing tension. Maybe give the arms a little shake. Right, so from here we can separate the feet, maybe to about the shoulder distance apart, knees soft, and we'll roll the shoulders. One shoulder, and then the other shoulder. Letting the body move, letting the head move. Right, and then coming back to center. You can keep the feet about the same distance apart as the shoulders. We'll take a breath in and raise the arms up. And as you exhale, let one arm come down and reach over and up with the other arm. Coming up with a breath in, reaching over and up. So coming up and releasing down. You can inhale as you lift, exhale as you go to either side. And it's not about how far you go. It's really maintaining the length on both sides of the spine. Let's come down to one side and stay for a couple of breaths. So as you're staying, try not to collapse the inside of that curve, but think about lifting and lengthening. Right? The difference is something like what I'm doing here versus trying to go as far as you can, pushing the hip out and collapsing the side. So it's really a little side bend and a lot of length. Switching. Again, a little side bend, a lot of length. It's really not about going as far as you can to the side and collapsing the inside of that curve. Let's leave the other arm down, reach up and down with the arm that was overhead. We'll add a forward bend coming up. Exhale, bring the hands behind your back if that's comfortable for you, to the knees or shins otherwise. Coming up with a breath in. So you can bend the knees as you go forward. And reach up with your inhale. And do one more, just like that. And then next time, releasing the arms to your sides. So now let's take the feet and move them a little bit wider apart. And how wide you move the feet is entirely up to you. You want to feel stable, you want to feel comfortable, and receive the amount of challenge that you want today. So the wider the legs are, general rule, the more challenging the pose becomes. So I'm going to have a kind of medium stance here, and we'll turn one foot all the way out to the side so that the kneecap and the toes are pointing in the same direction. And then if you bend that knee, the knee should track straight out over the ankle in line with the direction the toes are facing. The other foot, you can play around with whatever angle feels comfortable for you. So some people it's actually comfortable to have the foot angled away, some straight ahead, and the usual instruction is to angle the foot in a little bit. So if that's comfortable for you, you can do that. Otherwise, whatever angle works for you. You want to make sure that the other knee, whichever one is bent, is pointing straight forward. And we're going to come into side angle pose, a nice gentle version here. So arms to the side. So we start in Warrior Two. And feel the strength and stability in Warrior Two. And then as you come to the side angle pose, without pushing the hip out to the side, reach the rib cage a little bit towards the bent knee, and then bring the hand down, or you could bring the forearm down, or if you have a block or two, maybe bringing your hand onto your blocks. The other arm could reach up, or if it's better for your shoulder, arm behind the back with the hand pointing, palm facing away from you. And if you want more stretch, you can take the hand, turn the palm toward the ceiling, and reach the arm straight up, and continue reaching the arm overhead until you feel the stretch that's appropriate for you. Draw the shoulder blade down and stack the shoulders as much as possible, one over the other, straight sideways. When you come up, you'll lift straight back up to Warrior Two. Straighten the leg, lower the arms. And then we'll go to the other side. So you can stay here with the feet wide, come back to center, and then turn the other foot so it's pointing straight out. Bend the knee more or less stacking over the ankle. It could be a little more straight if you like. Once you get past the ankle, you're putting more force on the knee. So we want to try to keep that alignment there. Back foot, finding the angle that works best for you. Arms to the sides, Warrior Two to begin. Feeling the strength and stability of Warrior Two. You can reach the rib cage a little bit towards the bent knee. Bring the hand or the forearm down onto the thigh. The other arm can reach straight up or come behind your back to begin with. And then for those who want more stretch, you're going to start with the palm facing up, reaching that arm overhead. So when the arm comes overhead, the palm would be facing the floor. And then you want to put a little pressure against the leg, either with your hand or your forearm, to turn the body so that you're in a side bend, not twisting toward the ground. So it doesn't matter how far you go down. It's about finding that line of energy from the back foot to the top hand or arm behind the back if you're more comfortable there, and really finding side bend, not twist, as much as possible. When you're ready, we'll come back up to Warrior Two. Straighten the front leg, turn the feet parallel to one another, bring your arms down. You're welcome to bring the feet together if you like for the forward bend, or you can leave the feet wide. We've had the feet wide for a bit, so if it would be more comfortable to bring them together, feel free to do that. We'll lift up with the breath in. As you exhale, a little bit of bend in your knees, come forward. It could be hands or elbows to thighs, or reaching right down to the ground. Inhale as you come up. Repeat this movement a few more times. And then next time you come into the forward bend position, if you like, you can stay. So could be the hands or the forearms on the thighs, and I really like the forearm on the thigh position personally. I find it gets a little bit of attraction for the spine, and some people really like the full forward bend with the hands. It could be on the ground or reaching for the ankles, even crossing the arms if you like. So whichever version feels best to you, feels most nurturing and supportive. And then when you're ready, you can bend the knees a little more to help support you as you lift all the way up with a breath in. Exhale, arms down. If your legs are still apart, let's bring them together and give the limbs a little shake. Just letting go of any tension you might have brought into the standing poses so far. And we'll do a little bit of a twist now will be the last of our standing poses today. So again, feet are wide. We'll raise the arms up. We'll start with a standing twist. So soften your knees. And as you twist, bring one hand behind you with the palm out, the other hand across to the opposite hip with the palm facing the body, and turn your body towards the back arm. If you feel tension in the knee, you can always lift the heel as you twist. And then come back and other way. So I'm going to lift the heel as I twist away from that leg, just to make sure I'm not bringing any torsion into the knee. Really checking in and seeing how it feels for you. If you're doing a very, very mild twist, then the knee may not be involved. If you want to add a bit of a forward bend, bringing one hand behind the back, reach for the opposite thigh or shin or ankle or floor, coming back to the center and then to the other side. The back arm can continue to come behind your back, palm out for this one. Just keeping it nice and simple. You can bring the hand to the leg and then slide down if that feels good for you. Or simply place the hand as you come down. Do one more to either side, whatever version is working for you. And then back to center. Excuse me, I have the coughs and sneezes today. Coming back up to the center, straight up. Bend your knees a little, come straight forward. And then all the way back up. And exhaling to release the arms. Let's bring the feet together. Give the body a little shake again. We're going to make our way back to all fours just to do a little more cat-cow to bring the spine nicely back to equilibrium after the side bending and the twisting, making sure that we're well aligned before we head into Shavasana. So you can get to all fours however you like. I'm going to step back as though I'm doing a sun salutation and come to all fours that way. So you're welcome to join me or just come to hands and knees, whichever way you like. So I'm a little bit closer to the front of the mat. Take a breath in and find a little bit of extension in the spine, and then exhale to fold forward. I'm stepping back to downward dog. And if you've stepped back to downward dog and want to take a few breaths there, feel free to do that. And then whenever you feel ready to come to all fours, you can lower the knees. And either all fours to child's pose or cat-cow movement, whatever works for your body here. When you're coming up to all fours, there's a real temptation to lock the arms and kind of dump into the shoulders. But try to keep the arms soft and the shoulders down away from the ears. If you like, you can rest in child's pose, maybe using the hands to support your head if you like, or any other position that's comfortable for you. You can take a few breaths there as you're comfortable. And then if there's any other movement that would feel good to your body, you can go ahead and do a little more movement here or come onto your back at any point. So our next move is towards Shavasana. So whenever you're ready to go there, take your time and come onto your back. I'm going to come to a seated position, but you can go to a lying down position. And of course, if you prefer to end the class in a seated position with a bit of seated meditation, you're more than welcome to stay seated. You know, I know that Shavasana, the closing relaxation part of class, can be wonderful and supportive and feel great. And for others, it can be agitating and difficult to stay still and create a lot of tension. So feel free to end the class, you know, especially since this is an online class and you can do whatever you want, you know, feel free to end the class in whatever way feels good to you. So it could be sitting, standing, you could literally go and push stop on the computer right now if you've had enough. So finding your way to whatever position would work for you if you're joining us for Shavasana. So as you come into whatever position you're choosing, take a moment to reconnect with your breath, maybe reconnect to whatever you've committed to, maybe your yoga practice, it may be simply committing to today's practice, and that's a great commitment. Could be something else in your life. It's that idea that when we make a commitment, we need to also take action to make something happen. But for now, letting go of action, which is, according to the Bhagavad Gita, an action in itself. Inaction is a choice. Letting the breath settle. Letting the body begin to settle. You might feel the weight of your head on the ground, the weight of your shoulders and arms. Soften around the jaw, the face, and especially the eyes, where we did some extra work today. As you exhale, you might feel the belly soften and the lower back relax a little more. A sense of dropping down through the pelvis and feeling heavy through the hips. The thighs, knees, calves, and ankles beginning to drop down a little bit more. Feel your feet soften. Wherever you're aware of tension in your body, bring a little softness with your awareness. As you exhale, you might send a little bit of that softening energy to wherever you feel tightness. So the first chapter of the Yoga Sutras introduces the idea of studying yoga. It defines what yoga is. It defines the way our mind works. And it talks about the practice and how we should practice. So I'm going to start with the first sutra and chant till the 14th sutra, which encourages us to have a practice that takes place over a period of time that we enjoy, that feels good to us, that supports us. So as you rest, breathe, listen, the words of the Yoga Sutras encouraging us to commit to the practice for the long haul. Atha yoga nushasanam yoga chitta vritti nirodha tada drashtuhu svarupe avasthanam vritti sarupyam itaratra vrittaya panchataya klishta klishta pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritaya pratyaksha anumana agamaha pramanani viparyayo nitya jnanam atadrupa pratishtam shabda jnananupati vastu shunyo vikalpaha abhava pratyayalambana tamovritir nidra anubhuta vishaya asampramoshaha smritihi abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha tatra stita yatno bhyasaha satu dirghakala nairantarya satkara adara asevito dridha bhumihi. Start to deepen your breath a little now. Feeling a little more energy coming into your body. If you want to take a longer Shavasana, you can just hit stop and on the recording and continue on your own. And if you're ready to move on with your day, you can add a little movement. Wiggle your fingers and toes, circle your ankles and wrists, and gradually move and stretch your body. And eventually making your way upright by rolling first onto your side. Before you move on with the rest of your day, reestablishing that commitment that you made to yourself or to some aspect of your life at the beginning of the class. If you did, if you didn't, that's fine. Something may come to you as you go through your day that you'd like to commit to. And maybe keep in mind that 5-second rule, that when you have something that you want to do or should do, give yourself no more than 5 seconds to actually get up and do it from when you think of it. And see if that helps motivate you a little more, gets things happening a little more in your life with your commitments. Namaste.